just me. It's not you. I did say that I loved how you, that you had differentiation for some of your kids too. And I know that, thank you so much. I noticed that you had that one sleeve for him with the boxes, and I loved that. I also wanted to just show too, like sometimes with the sentences, it's kind of nice to be able to use the sheet protectors. Then they can really use the spacing of, but your kids, they were pretty organized in their writing. I was very impressed by that. They were going to, because you don't see that very often. But they knew exactly what to do. That was fun.
Last time, when the reading rehearsals coach was here, they helped me like understand like the order that's kind of going,
Uh-huh.
especially with the eraser game, it helps them find things easier.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And that was really good because I know in coaching, you see all kinds of ranges of how people are doing, and seems like it's going really well so far. What are your questions, and where would you like to kind of start?
I don't have any questions.
So with Kindred First, we were talking a little bit about data, and there are some things I just want to point out to you in the lesson itself. So I did, oh, you haven't done that one yet, so in progress. Okay. So you didn't finish your lesson 60 just yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just gonna
They
preview.
have to do.
Okay, I'm just gonna preview 59. So just looking at the lesson, the front piece, just going off of kind of what the other group said too. Just before I taught the lesson, and I know as teachers, you don't have a lot of time, but this is kind of nice because it shows you how to teach it, why to teach it, what's behind it, what you could use for examples. The reports are something that, well, really quick, I know for the transfer books, how are you feeling about those, and are you using those pretty
Yeah, we use
much all the time?
daily.
Yeah, okay,
At least we.
okay. And then do you know that the 3 words for word mapping are right here?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
The pictures are.
Yes, I know. Well, and sometimes you have to just tell them what they are. Yeah.
Well, what we do is we put them on the board, like not in order, and they can choose.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. So you're doing it. And then, all your transfer routines for your groups are here. And then they're also, when you finish your lesson, your groups break off at the very end, okay? And then your reports here, this is something a little bit new. We were trying to break it apart with Kindern First as well. So she's on a multi-skill check, so you can see how they scored. Now the question before was, well, how do I know what they missed? It'll give you a breakdown in your cumulative, but it only will do middle and end. She has her middle. So then down here, it's gonna tell you what they got correct and what they missed. And I'll tell you their percentage down here. Oops.
And that's super helpful for.
This is like literally brand new, just loaded.
Okay.
So this will tell you,
We weren't holding back.
yes, this is new. So it'll give you a little breakdown. It won't give you like a breakdown on the daily skill check. You all know that when you're in, you take your kids, not only are you doing the skill check, but you're always doing the observation notes to see where your kids are at and what they need and how they need to reteach. If they did really poorly, you pull them over and see why. And then, so here, like if you click on daily, it'll give you a class average up here to just show you how they're doing. I mean, overall, they did well on this one.
And we're spotty too. I have like 9 kids absent because of this hit my wheel.
Oh, okay. So also, they just added this reassign skill check. So if your student is gone now, again, the skill check is after you've taught the lesson, right? I mean,
Right.
so essentially you should pull them to your small group and teach if they don't know it. I mean, maybe a kid's a little bit higher and they've got blends and you've already done blends, and you can assign the skill check just to give yourself data. If they got in the red zone, the needs support, and you're like, oh, that doesn't really make sense, let's do it again, and I'm gonna sit by you and get better data. However you want to do it, but so you'll click here. And then you're going to click on the skill, whatever it was, or skill or lesson you were on. And then you want to look here. So these are the kids who had maybe these kids had no data. You can click all of them and then save changes, and it'll reassign that skill check.
And
And
then they
then
log in, will it
here's-
take their little avatar to where they need to go?
Mhm, yes,
Okay.
it should connect. It should connect. So that's new. We were listening, definitely. I told the first group to, we definitely listen. Like, they've made these changes based on what people are saying. So here in this question mark, please, as you see anything, like they were saying that, one of the teachers was saying there was a lag from the word to the picture. We want to know that it should be quicker. So if you go here, share your feedback. They really do read this and they really do make changes right away. So, mhm.
Can you go back to the data, please? So, what we kind of struggle with, and some of us have figured out, but sometimes our kids don't take the post skill check, but they think they do.
Mhm.
And, or they might take the post skill check, but it still says NA. So like that's kind of an issue. Do y'all, like, sometimes I just see NA only on my post skill check side.
So the post skill check is really if you want them to do it or not. It's not like essential necessarily.
Okay.
The initial skill check is what you'll get it says on there, skill check and then post skill check. It's very similar,
Okay.
it's just a matter if they do the skill check, do the activities, and then do the post skill check. It's up to you. If you want to make that like an expectation, like you have to do this, you might have to pull over those kids who keep getting NA or whole group. Like, we're gonna all do this together. Stop, let's do it together. And this is what it looks like and feels like. And then, okay, we're not going anywhere until we're all, kind of on the same page.
Okay.
So it's kind of what you want.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And then obviously, if it's just a few kids, you just like, this person was probably absent, so you would want to pull that person
Right.
to your table. Maybe it's NA because they don't feel like doing it, or, sometimes you get those little stinkers, but, then you're just pulling over and then let me listen with you, and do they know what to do? Kind of that piece.
Because there's 2 activities, right? They get like 3 diamonds.
Yeah.
Activity 1.
So they should only get activity 1 and 2 if they need it. If they're a little higher, they should only get activity 2. So they don't have as many. Some have less. Mhm. Some
I
have less.
noticed that it's grayed out.
Yes.
On the first.
Yes,
First one.
mhm, yes, that means they scored high and they don't need that extra practice. I mean, really, they should only be in the skill check, in that whole thing, 5 minutes. It doesn't take long.
We keep hearing that. We really,
But what?
To be taking them a lot.
It's taking them longer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, again, maybe they have to get used to it. What part do you think? Because they can keep doing activities.
It's the strugglers.
It
It's the
is.
strugglers because they're really struggling with manipulating those sounds
Okay.
and the letters to form the words that they're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Her and I have, a lot of dyslexia
Oh, yeah.
in our room. And so what I noticed with them is they'll spell a word and they swap a lot of the letters. Like, they're really
Yeah.
bad about, like, if it's AI, it's gonna be
Mhm.
IA.
Yes.
And then, of course, they have to keep doing it, and it's like their brain doesn't, like, they
Mhm.
can't get it down fast enough from here to here.
Mhm.
So sometimes we have to, like, okay, hold on, what did we just learn, and remind them. So I think, like, and I think that's for you, the tier 3s too, it's just the combination of letters and them learning and our speech kids, because a lot of times when they hear it,
Yeah, that's huge.
it doesn't. That's
So
what
we were talking before too, that might not, the skill check might not be ideal for those students. If they're just really struggling, this teacher over here was saying, like, she's in tears, she doesn't get it, she doesn't know what to do.
Mhm.
You don't have to. If that's too hard for her, and we were talking to, get the magnetic letters out and build the words that way. So they're seeing it, they're touching it, they're moving it, they're reading it, you
Yeah,
know?
I told mine, hey, it's okay to grab a marker and write on your desk as you're hearing it. I will come and look and say,
Mhm.
okay, think about what we just learned and come back.
Mhm.
But it's also those that I think they feel, I can't do this, and they're like, bam, 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 bam.
Yes.
Bam, 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 bam. But now that we
Mhm.
can reassign it,
Mhm.
it's gonna be nicer, because we're like, well, you rushed.
Well, and you might, yeah, when they redo it, sit there with them.
Yes.
And you know, that's gonna take a little time for you,
Mhm.
but if you want a score like on a new skill and you really wanna see, do they know it on the skill check and my observation? Then I'm gonna sit here with you
Mhm.
during small group or by yourself and we'll do it together, yeah. Yeah, cause that can be a tricky part,
Mhm.
you know, especially, yeah, then the dyslexia kids. And if they keep getting it wrong, that's frustrating, and then maybe they stop wanting to do it entirely. Yeah, so I mean, again, this curriculum, you know, it's good data for you, and it's, you know, guiding your groups and how you need to do it, but it's not your state test. It's not, I mean, I know you're being, people are looking essentially, but like, it should be for you and how you teach your kids. It's just helping you know, okay, this is what they're missing, or like, we taught this skill, they didn't get it, we're gonna redo it. You know, it's just really guiding your instruction. Yeah. If that makes sense. So,
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
And
yeah,
God, I feel like it's already like past lunch. I feel like it has been actually, but that's, you know, we've been talking about, is the skill check really appropriate for every kid, particularly with kinder and first, and y'all have heard some of those conversations. Look, I just got another pop-up of new things.
I know.
Um, But, and we've definitely implemented the curriculum with fidelity. We're gonna give it a good faith effort. We're gonna follow directions. And I think now we're to the point where we're starting to go, okay, let's be a little bit more creative with this piece. Does this really work for all kids?
Mhm.
How can I adjust this piece to make it more interactive?
Mhm.
Right. And we certainly have the ability to do that within the classroom. So, just remember that going forward. We're starting to ask those questions. Is this really how it's working for us in our classroom, or should we change this piece up? And it's a little bit different for K-1 than it is for 2. But yes, know that going forward. If we were very rigid, but if we're starting to see this piece is just not working for me, or it's not giving me what I need, then let's talk about that and figure out how to adjust it, because this is it's almost a jumping off point for us. We just had to become familiar with it. Where we needed to go.
Right, and like you were saying before, once you're doing it with fidelity, it gets to be more comfortable. Then you add in those creative pieces we were talking about. If it's too long, maybe you add a video, but then, you know, if you just have to shorten your lesson one day by pulling a little bit, doing all parts, but pulling a little out and doing a review the next day. Again, it's not like you have to be on this day by this day. And I like that you're allowing them that, because you might want to use magnetic letters for some kids, and let's try this, or you know, be creative in the process, because we don't want it to be painful. We want it to be fun, and we want it to make sense. Want it to work for you. So
But-
yeah.
And I said, and I think I this with y'all, it was first grade Tuesday, but you know, one of the things at the campus level that I've noticed is a lot of our phonics activities and stations have changed because we've been so focused on reading horizons. But what looks like we pulled out is more of the fun pieces. I don't know how else to describe them. But it's more of the game pieces. It's more of the song pieces. It's the activities, the matching. And I know we pulled it out for sake of time. They used to go to 8 to 10 centers in second grade a week. Now we're down to 3 to 5-ish. And so now is certainly the right time to start looking at that and go, okay, am I really gonna do the student transfer book today, or can we play a little game?
Yeah.
If you feel like your kids are needing that.
Mhm.
I definitely think that's where we are. Y'all have given it the good faith effort. And when you're starting to see that with the kids, I mean, I know they love the eraser game. But if they also
do.
love some novelty, and every now and then we gotta mix it up to round them all back in,
Mhm.
so.
And you know, you can break up the lesson between 2 days and add those components that they might need and get them excited. And yeah, please, use your teacher creativity. I mean, want it to be fun.
We can maximize our time too, because it is like stressful for those kids that are taking longer to complete the skill check, and instead we can just pull them.
Mhm.
into
And
a
work with them.
smaller- Yeah.
It would be nice just to
I
do that
definitely
first
love
check
that.
with them, and as they're doing the words, have them doing the magnetic letters with them and working on the sound, so that makes me feel better, a lot better.
Me too.
Cause I feel like it's just getting thrown at them
Yeah.
and it's going like.
It's a struggle
If
because
it's
they're
not
already
working, yeah.
I feel like it's just
And
like,
so what, that's what we've been talking about, is that really the best use of their time? And I will say
Right.
Kinder, they create paper-based little quick checks. It's paper, but it's oral, because it's Kinder.
Mhm.
Right, but, even if you're pulling your 4 friends who this just isn't working for, it is working for the vast majority of our kids, they can do it.
Yes.
Maybe they don't take the virtual piece every single day,
Mhm.
you know.
Or if they take it, then they take it with you.
Yes,
And
they
yeah,
can, they can
and
take it with you, or
or
you
paper,
can do it
totally.
with them on paper real
Mhm.
quick, you can ask those same questions, see if they can manipulate the words.
Yeah.
You have them manipulate the word pattern and you see if they got it that.
and I think we've created some stuff, extra little stuff here and there that's, in their Google Classroom that they can work on too, and with the old skills.
And you don't have to complete a lesson. Everybody does skill check. That can be a center or a station. So maybe they don't do that first. Maybe they come to you. Maybe they need to do the skill check with you, or maybe you have your enrichment kids. And, there's just a small group, they're doing the skill check. And then they're rotating through. So you don't have to do whole group. If you want to monitor a little bit more, they could come to you and do the skill check, and then you do however you want to do it,
Right.
and then I do want to show you real quick. I don't know, have you guys looked at the toolkits? I think the last groups did. Yes, okay. So these are nice, because I was saying too, I like to add, like, if you have a guest teacher sub come in, it's hard to leave your devices. These are great for printing. Maybe you leave them then, because they're not gonna necessarily do it exactly how you do it. I mean, this is a process, Reading Horizons, but, you could print it and have them review the skill you taught, or however you want to do it. But it's nice. It can also, these pieces on the bottom can also, I know Kinder was saying, right, this could be a station. They're reading the sentences and drawing a picture. And here's your decodable sentences. These could be homework, or like some families want, like, what can they do at home? These are good. It connects to what you just taught. So those are nice. I wanted to show you too, I did the lesson I taught today. When you project, because I was like, oh, I like these still. Okay. So I projected, took a screenshot. You do. These were on it. You could teach this whole thing. So these are nice too for like independent reading or partner
We
reading.
even take the fluency passages in the transfer books and we send them home.
Oh,
homework
yeah,
for the
yes.
parents To read with them and.
So one of the requests is, I always get this word wrong, when you can rip them out, perforated. Perforated, so that you
That
can
would be
rip
nice.
them out and send them home. That has been a suggestion.
Nice.
We're hoping they're working on.
Do it like the day after those,
Yeah.
Yeah, so they could do it and then take it home and read it to someone in their
I don't know if
family.
y'all's kids are excited, but mine have looked ahead and they're like, oh, we only got a couple more lessons and we take the book home. Okay, all excited
Yes,
about
I
taking
got the
book
kindergarten
home.
book.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, I was like, oh, well, they're done with that. They were like, get it, we're sending it home. And I was like, oh, no, they just actually finished.
Yeah, no, they're done, yeah.
And then you can break up the toolkits into, if they need phonemic awareness, most common words, or here's printing your multi-skills check. Did you already see that? So again, this is your paper pencil piece. If you're doing a multi-skill check,
Is that a reflection of what they're taking?
Yes.
online? It's the
Mhm.
same thing?
Yep, yep.
See, I think I can do that with some of them.
Yep.
Like, what?
Yep, and so then you are doing it orally, obviously, with your kids.
Yeah. Thinking about what they need. Yeah, I think it's.
So one thing I definitely hear second grade asked about a lot also is spelling. What are we doing with spelling? Okay, we were so used to, word pattern of the week and spelling test based upon that word pattern, and we have it as an essential standard. How are we getting data to know if kids are, spelling? I know we answered this with. But
Yeah.
I wanted to give you opportunity to say it a second.
Yeah, so I guess, what Reading Horizons is encouraging is if you need to have spelling tests, because I know as a whole, right, they're trying to do away with that because it's essentially memorizing. But if you're taking the skills you taught for that week, you're using your transfer card. I mean, you can use these words right here. You just taught that. So that can be your spelling list. Here are the most common words. You taught those. Add them to your spelling list. So they're words they know, they're decodable, and they can feel successful in actually knowing how to spell it instead of guessing words they maybe aren't secure in. So just use what you taught and create a spelling list. Essentially, that's what Reading Horizons recommends. I don't know, how do you feel about that,
But
or
how
where are
often
you
do
at?
we give it? Something lessons, like,
Well, we say don't give spelling tests.
Well, I guess.
Depends on.
Yeah.
How do they assess spelling, I guess is the better.
Mm.
So how is a better way for them to get data and assess spelling?
So what is the TEAC? What does the TEAC say? They have to align it to your
Grade is
TEAC.
Pretty much spell grade of the words.
Yeah, decode.
Yeah, decode it and code spell.
Yeah.
So if you have them write these words and they're proving them, and you see they can accurately prove them, on their own, and they're spelling them correctly, I would think that would be a good sign because they're able to prove it and know the reason why, like you're doing the arc and marking the vowel. You taught that. Can they do it by themselves? I guess that would be. And are they spelling the word correctly, right? I mean, that's all spelling and decoding and marking.
At the beginning, we kind of took the, whenever we would do the multi-skill check, we would choose 4 sentences for the dictation. And we kind of did a little, assessment through that. But, I mean, it's hard because there's so many skills and,
It sounds like the data now though is just more observational, and I
Yeah.
think we're used to having this like concrete hard piece of data. So
Mhm.
really, as we're talking about our standards-based report card, is that really the best standard to have on that report card? Based upon how our instruction is changing, maybe there is a different one or something like that. And because I think that's where a lot of the angst and anxiety comes in. It's like, okay, but I have to prove that this child
Yeah.
can do this. How do
Mhm.
I prove it if it's all been my observation in my notes? And
Right, because it's nice to show, I like showing parents something concrete. So, maybe you have a list of words and have them prove them and, or read them to you when you're taking, I get that. That's kind of like when you're gonna have conferences and you're gonna meet, you have that mid and end year assessment piece.
And then now on the one that y'all just gave, I keep calling it the benchmark, but it's not, the cumulative.
Oh, yeah.
Year, whatever it's called in Reading Horizons. I did see that it did break it down into spelling skills, I thought.
So
Yes.
here's double L. Did they get the glued sounds? This is how they spelled it. The pink ones, or they got it incorrect. Here's how much they scored on the bottom.
But this one, is it, scroll up to the top.
Show me
This
again.
first graph right here, so this spelling accuracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh,
overlap
yeah,
with 1
yes,
through
yes,
54.
yep,
Overall on this check,
yes.
how's their spelling accuracy? We're only
Exactly.
getting this 3 times a year or
Yeah.
twice a year,
Uh-huh,
really, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
time away. But at least that is one concrete piece of data that you for sure have, and it is
True.
cumulative. And then
Mhm,
you got the words at the
mhm.
bottom to prove how they earned.
Exactly. Yep.
But
Yeah, and then
until,
here,
you know, last week, we didn't have that notice. Maybe that give y'all a little bit more insight too.
and again, too, building your groups, like the kids in red, they need phonics. So maybe that's your small group and you're pulling them over to do phonics skills from what you taught, you know, up till then and, you know, things like that. So. Yeah,
And the overall class ratings too. So we can kind
oh,
of
yeah.
gauge your
I'm
overall
sorry, I
class
went back out again.
And you can kind of gauge overall your class. Hey, yeah, my class has alphabet down and we've got phonemic awareness down.
Mhm.
Anytime we're doing intervention, we really need to be focusing on the phonics pieces. Some of you might have phonemic awareness is where your class is struggling. I know everybody has a little bit different class makeup, but that can kind of give y'all some insight of what to put in stations too.
Yeah, it's real slow today.
Yeah, so if you needed phonemic awareness or most common words practice, sounds like you guys have kind of gone in here, but here's second, and third.
Stars.
So that means that's the most current test. So you can reassign and then when you hover over their score or click on their score, it'll tell you if they have 2 scores, which is your most current. So here's all your most common words for second and third grade, or you know, where you're at in your lessons. So if you wanted to work on just most common words, it's probably kind of feeling good now that you're getting really good about teaching the lesson, and now you can kind of dig a little further into what the product, you know, has.
I know another struggle that second grade in particular has had, more so than any of the other grades, is kids knowing the phonics skill. Right? Is that what y'all are calling these phonics?
Oh, yeah, phonetic skill one.
Phonetic skill one,
Oh.
phonetic skill two.
Like my
That seems to be a second grade struggle.
My kids, when they're asking like cumulatively, what phonetic skill does this follow? They're not remembering that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can tell you that it's the silent E or the adjacent vowels, but like
Oh, yeah.
my class, I don't remember what number.
Do you have the poster up?
I do.
Okay.
And they refer to it and they look at it, but I guess
Okay.
because they're just trying to process it so fast.
Well, and that's, you know,
Yeah.
those are big words in
Yeah.
a sense of like connecting the skill to what
Yeah.
number it is. I mean, I can't remember, you know, all the time either. Like, oh, what's 4 again? Oh, I'd have to look. So it's okay to keep pointing back to it and just reviewing it. I don't think they have to know necessarily like what number it is if they're
Okay.
secure in the skill.
They ask, well, I mean, yes, I get it. On the computer though, it does ask them what phonetic skill it belongs to, and I feel bad. when I get it wrong,
Oh,
even though
okay.
they know this.
okay. And do they refer to the poster?
They do,
Okay,
and I don't know if it's just.
they're missing,
it's
there's
just
missing it.
The process of,
Yeah,
but I know that they know, and then, but I feel bad when they get it wrong.
yeah.
On the Chromebook, because they've just not matched.
Do you think it'd be easier if you somehow like gave them each their own? They could have like a little bookmark on their desk or in their desk and they could just pull it out?
So she
Oh,
I already made a bunch.
oh, yay,
created
see?
smaller posters to put in their data binder. So it's just a matter of getting them to
We even,
refer.
so we even took the Breve and Macron
Mhm.
and I put short and I put the Breve in
Uh-huh.
the S, so they know it's short. And then I took Macron and then I put long and I put the line, so they know.
Yeah,
And I noticed the kids get that.
I think
That's
it's more of
awesome.
I need to teach the routine or.
yeah, I love
The
that.
poster has like the sample words.
Yeah.
That fall in that
Right.
skill. It doesn't say like phonetic skill one
Yeah.
is.
It just says
Just
number
that.
1 and
Yeah,
the word.
It's just an
Mhm.
example of a word that falls within
Mhm.
that skill.
Yeah.
So I
Yes.
think that is difficult.
So
It's the
we,
process of it.
Mhm.
Like, okay, wait, that one.
What
has-
does it look like?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So-
Uh-huh.
two.
yeah, so I tried to make little posters that said phonetic skill one is this, and I cut, and I snipped words that go with it until the kids
Yeah.
remember.
Look at you. See, that's
No,
awesome.
she-
I like
she'll
that.
Show us in the other group. y'all know how we get pop-ups all the time, saying, hey, this is bad, this is bad. And we provide feedback, but you can provide feedback here with this little question.
Oh, yeah, I think I did show that, right?
Did you show it to y'all?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
Well, it's
no,
been,
no,
like,
no.
Back to back to back.
Please
That's why
let me
I feel like
know.
it's already lunchtime. It's
Please-
not.
Yeah, and here are updates and, but yes, please share your feedback on that. Yeah, and maybe like little mini posters or
Yeah.
see, I want, you like cringe, but I want you to get creative and what do your kids need? Like you don't,
I
you
think
know?
because we have the kids that struggle. Her and I came up with, it was phonetic skills 4 or 5, I can't remember, EA. And so what we did was we took like like AI, and then we put lines, like line, AI, line, so they know it's in the middle, it's AY at the end. So we try to make those
Yes.
for those kids and refer back, like for those
Yeah.
kids.
Because you want them to be success, you don't want them to fail, you want them to feel confident, and so you have to give them.
And it really does help when they do look.
And then when my kids come across those words, when they see them, they go and write them
Mhm.
underneath the phonetic or underneath the pattern.
I guess what we need to do at the beginning of next year is like, well, you know how when we use secret stories, we had the lot, that book that you did at the beginning of the year, and they would go, maybe they need to, now that we're familiar with the
Mhm.
phonetic skills, we just like,
Mhm.
have a journal for them to go.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, and have a
And y'all
passage.
know I don't mind making it. I don't know. I don't have a lot.
Aw. Well, and then play word detective and then write it out. And yeah, you were creative in teaching. You, yeah, well, no. Yeah, and I think especially for dyslexia, they reread and reverse all the time. So you want them to have something.
And it has helped them. The ones that struggle, well, still, but those ones that were kind of seesaw, they actually, it's helping them.
Oh,
Like, it's
good.
just- It does.
That's good. That's good feedback. Well, it sounds like, I mean, you're all rocking it. And you know where everything is, right? I know it's hard sometimes because you don't have a lot of time. This little graduation cap, if you have any questions, there's great videos in here, so. The videos at the beginning of each lesson, if you were like, oh, how do I really teach this? Why do I teach this? Those videos built in are nice. So did I say all the updates? I think the key
Like
Mm.
ones.
that. Yeah. This group's really good about the updates too, though. Before you came in, we did talk about that now you can reassign a quick check.
Yeah, that's what Sarah said, okay, perfect,
And you,
Useful.
yeah.
sounds like you're doing really well with groups. Yeah, I mean, those were my key points, as you all asked me, so.
Are
I'm glad it's
Are
going
you
well.
able to skip lessons? Like, if we didn't want to do 92,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, I mean, I think you can click, so here, up here, it's gonna have it, you go in order and you just push go. But, well, wait,
that's.
Yes, yes.
April, because I figured out April, we're gonna be doubling them a lot.
Yeah.
Because we started very slow at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
Until, Mrs. Brooks was able to give us or like, figure out more phonics time in our day. We were doing a lesson every 2 days. And,
okay,
we got behind.
yeah.
So we kind of had to kick it in high gear and
Do you feel the pressure of having to be at a certain point at the end of the year?
Yes,
Yes.
get emails that say you should be at this lesson.
From who?
From the district.
Oh, from the
Like I said,
district.
There's a district expectation.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so they're telling you where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay,
And luckily, we were right at 52 or 53 right before we took the cumulative, so we caught up.
okay,
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, the second semester, there are a ton of lessons.
I
and we
mean-
have to get to 127,
Okay, oh,
right?
they're making,
There's
yeah, they're making you
127.
do it all
Well,
of them. in-
that now, like I said, I mean, we've been talking about now it's time for us to start playing. We did it with Fidelity. Okay, what do we need to adjust for
Right.
our kids? I do think that's a larger conversation too. Do we need to get to all 127 in second grade? Do we get to 100 in second grade and then carry the 27 over to third grade? Because right now we have second and third grade doing the same. Third
Yes.
grade doing literally the same lessons, shortening it a bunch, probably in about 25 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm.
Is that about right? Now they haven't done reading horizons, so we're okay, but next year it will be the exact same lessons. So I do think we need a plan going forward as well, like how are we going to adjust this? And is the answer, and that's the other elementary principal, is the answer, do we really need to get through all 127?
Right, no.
But
would be nice to-
also,
yeah.
also though, if we don't get to 127, the cumulative, they'll be missing lessons that could be on the cumulative at the
Mm-hmm,
end of the year.
Maybe we get the test.
mm-hmm.
So.
I mean, y'all, we give in class,
I know.
we give Star Ren reading, like,
and
Yeah.
this
plenty of
was added
assessment
in.
data, even when we were looking at this, and I was like, wait a minute, why don't we have even more screener data now?
Right,
So
we, that
but
would
that,
become-
that is a question that the other principal and I
Or
have.
we-
Now, I don't know, I have to look at the standards for each grade level, and if we don't get through lesson 127, have we covered all the phonics skills for second grade? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, and essentially, like, you hate to smash in a bunch of stuff if they're overwhelmed by it all, but if you feel like as a class overall, they could take on more material, you could kind of combine them if you needed to. We were talking before too, maybe even like, maybe you have an assembly that day and you need to split it, do all the components, but make it shorter, and then you could do the next day where you finish it, you don't assign this skill check that day, you sign it the second day. Because Reading Horizons, I know the district tells you different things, but Reading Horizons is essentially, you're using it how your kids need it.
Can they take more than one skill check in a day though? So.
No, so you wouldn't, so like, let's say if you today only got a shortened version,
Right.
and then the next day you wanted to teach, another shortened, like do the same, but the rest of it, right? Then you assign the skill check. So not today, they just get that.
I thought you meant like doubling up the lesson and then giving the skill check, but did I miss that?
Well,
We've never, we've never done.
so
one.
you would have to deliver the lesson
Right.
to
But
the
then they would
end,
miss that skill check from,
unless you gave them 2 skill checks.
right, well, they would have to skill check and then deliver lessons. skill
Like
check.
we have to
Yeah.
That's
finish
right,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's not recommended,
Yeah.
but
Then
you can,
reassign the skill check.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, but now you have the reassessment.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
yes, you
But
do.
And-
Data that they all need.
And the question still, okay, you delivered the lesson. Does every kid need to take a quick check every day?
Mhm.
If we get to the point where we're needing to double up, we just named 2 other universal screeners that we have
Yeah.
in reading too. We have data, in a lot of different formats, but maybe you skip a skill check that day or something,
Mhm.
I do
Mm-hmm.
like giving the skill checks, well, obviously, because you get stuff, but like I have 5 kids out today.
Mhm.
I've already texted those parents and be like, hey, can you please have your kid, I know they've missed the lesson, but at least look at the skill check and do it so they're not behind and they've got that lesson. It's not me teaching them, but at least they're familiar with the words that we're using.
So now she was saying if they're absent, you can reassign it to the absent kid, but it's.
Yeah, so when they get back, you
So I don't need to
teach
teach
them
them.
a lesson.
No,
Okay, today's your last day.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
and you kind of want to like,
Yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
teach them first,
Yeah.
and then give the.
Here I'm.
I mean-
Excited, 'cause my kids are doing ways, okay, then I'll do that.
Well, and yeah, and then, too, if you feel like they're still behind because they missed a couple days, I mean, you can go to the toolkit, print that out. Something to send home they could practice with their family if they want something. So, I was gonna say something about what you said, but, oh,
10 o'clock.
time to go.
Now, do y'all,
Okay,
y'all have another time that we had for overage, and we did it.
I think we.
Y'all
should
have to
just
come
come
back
back
with
with
that.
that.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, if y'all need to email
Thank
it.
you for
we'll
letting me
ask
use
you.
that. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course. Let me know if you have any other questions. Yeah, you're all doing amazing. Thank you. Thank you for letting me into your classroom.
The card, yeah, I gotta get.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We really do like it. Like, we feel like it's only helping out a lot of people.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Cause like third grade is where they start to level out and you could lose some. And I know like you were talking a little earlier about some, like you're not seeing it yet, but the decoding is they're gonna learn those strategies and then they're gonna just hopefully soar and not,
Yes.
hopefully.
Yes, all the anecdotal feedback has been positive, it really has.
Okay,
We
good.
struggled at the very beginning of time. But I think we've overcome that, and now it's just little tiny things that they want to
Mm-hmm.
tweak. And I don't know, maybe a semester isn't enough to see the needle moving. And I mean, what I mean by that is the rate of growth this year
Yes.
is the same as the rate of growth
Yes.
last year.
Right, I totally understand what you're saying.
Um,
So, it'll be like, okay, well, what will we see if they keep doing reading horizons every year into
Yes.
third and fourth grade? Are they using those decodables like, because essentially you're moving away from the marking system. They're not going to do that, but are they still using that to be
Right.
able to read? Because when they get to third, fourth grade is when you're like, oh, they're not reading.
Right,
But so that'll be interesting to see. Yeah,
that's, and we just gave our assessments, so
Uh-huh.
like, the data is just really fresh. I haven't even shared it with them at the campus level.
okay.
Yet, so I wasn't gonna have stuff with them quite yet. But that is something we've been saying, we're anxious for MOY data, we wanna see the improvement in the MOY data. I know that they will say, but our kids grew. Yes,
Yeah,
they absolutely did. At the campus level, I'm worried, are we growing at a faster rate though?
sure,
And maybe it takes a whole year, I don't,
sure.
that's what I'm anxious to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, so that we are done with teachers, I think, for the day. That was, oh, that was it. That was really what they asked for, and that's what they wanted.
Okay,
We are really done
good.
with teachers for the day.
Well, and those PLC, so I often suggest too, like for a PLC that you lead, essentially, we did this in the last district that I taught in is have them all record themselves teaching the lesson. Be like, oh, you do it this way, that's how you get your creative ideas, or oh, you did it like this, and it's good. No one really likes to record themselves, but it's good feedback, and you put it up here, you can give each other good suggestions or feedback and like what you're noticing. I think it's nice to be able to see each other teach
Yeah.
and like where you're at, or like, let's focus on this today and let's see that part of your lesson, or, now that you're in a routine of it.
I think they're good, even, and it's the little stuff, like when we started adding the chin check concept.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my,
Like all the stuff that is boost engagement, stuff like that.
what's the other one I saw in second grade? They say popcorn and the kids go pop, pop.
Yes,
Right?
uh-huh,
Those little things
uh-huh.
to make it, they're primary teachers. It's all
I
coming in.
know. Well, and you want to add those. And I think, like you said, they're all feeling pretty comfortable. They're gonna, I mean, she's making things. I think that you'll start to add those.
And I
Did
want
you?
them to know that they can.
Yes, I'm so
And
glad.
I think that's what they can start
Mm-hmm,
to tweak a little bit.
mm-hmm.
I think they're comfortable enough to start. But I did really want to just kind of pick your brain, or because you probably know what other schools are doing as far as the implementation piece with that second and third grade dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, we have another reading program called Lexi
Okay.
that is really a carryover from a blended learning grant.
Mm-hmm.
And really K through 2, personally, the feedback I think is that they still like having Lexia. They are not feeling like it is a double div or anything
Okay.
like that. And their usage is still good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how they're feeling. So that is additional phonics practice for most part, depending on where the kiddos are. digital, and we do have one of their like rotations or specials is allowed where the kids do that.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's not
Oh,
all
okay.
in the classroom.
That's nice.
And then we do have Elevate at the 4th and 5th grade level. We have struggled a lot more with Elevate.
Mm,
Definitely with the execution of it, to the point, I don't really, I think it'd be fair to say we're really not implementing it. I think we had a lot of confusion about the expectations
mhm.
at the district level about how to implement it initially. And about every month, we would get a new understanding.
Yeah,
And so, you know, when you have when you don't have clarity over the implementation, that was very difficult.
well, and
I mean, we started the year, and I know your discovery, but we also have Lexia at the.
yeah, okay,
And in
okay.
particular, I do see a double dose there,
Mhm.
because it's, the kids are gonna do the same thing. And we had been, again, district expectation about how many minutes they are in Elevate, how many minutes they are in Lexia. It is very regimented.
Mm-hmm.
We've backed off immensely at this campus, but there is that expectation, and we have struggled quite a bit with that now. So, and we were using Elevate Tier 1, like standing up and teaching lessons originally, but then it was like, oh, no, you don't have to teach lessons, and what are you talking about? That's what we were told to do. We went to training, we taught lessons, that's, you know, we have no idea. I don't know that they had a different understanding until after we started.
Mhm.
So we backed off quite a bit there.
I think that's gonna get easier when your K-2 start moving and they've had it. And then you're not in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, you're not necessarily teaching the proving method unless they need it.
Right.
You know, because then they'll be like familiar with it and they have those decoding strategies under their belt. Where if you're starting in 4th and 5th grade and they're older, yeah, it might be a little bit trickier.
Well, and I think the Elevate lessons, I don't know that there are a lot of 4th and 5th grade phonics skills, but we were using
Right.
it as Tier 1. So, you know, with, even in the GT cohort class, and we're standing up going, this is the letter N, and they're just like, are you kidding? You know,
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
don't know that our reading, of course, we struggle with reading like most schools, but I don't know that we are struggling.
Not
to the
that
level
much.
that
Yeah.
it should be like that.
yeah,
And so that implementation is much more difficult. Now, we've structured it more, where mostly it's just like the 4th grade, special education cohorts. She really uses it in her small groups. She's like, I got about 12 kids in this
Oh,
class who
yeah,
benefit from
that's
it.
great.
And so she'll pull small groups and use it.
Yeah.
That piece. But other than that, I think. we
And I
touch it
think-
up.
I think that's a little more of the intention too,
Yeah.
is like the kids who need reading intervention.
Yeah.
Have you had coaching for 4th and 5th? Like,
Well, bless her heart, the one day we were gonna have Elevate coach, the substation across the street blew up and the power went out at
Oh.
6:50 in the morning.
Oh
So
my
we were like
gosh.
trying to return 800 kids to their parents in the dark.
Oh my
With no
gosh.
phones
that-
and everything. And she was like, I'm gonna leave. And I was like, safe travels. Let me
Yeah,
get to
so
this.
rescheduled.
Yes, and I
Okay.
don't even know that.
Oh, okay,
I don't even know that we're gonna pursue Elevate coaching.
okay.
And I think that the district is looking at that. I think the original intent was that it was gonna be Tier 1, and I think we've realized, no, it's really more of a Tier 2, Tier 3.
Mm-hmm, yes,
But also in Tier 3, we have another scripted program.
okay,
So there's a lot of overlap that I think we're still working. But
right.
Tier 2 has been really good. I think 3rd grade, they just hurry the lessons up. Yes, so we've got to get through a lot of them today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, we do need a plan for next year. Like, do we really start at lesson 1? I don't know what the recommendation is. And just do abridged versions again. because
Sure.
They're not all gonna be proficient readers.
Sure.
We know that.
Well, and they're still, you know, their K-2 especially is the foundation of reading. And in 3rd grade, yes, you have those that are like, you're even in kindergarten. I mean, you know, you're varying levels of reading, but certainly in 3rd grade, they're reading more, you hope. And then there's some that don't, and so that's where you are using the Reading Horizons. It may not always necessarily lend to, I would think, a whole group lesson depending now, but Reading Horizons is saying you should start at one and move on, but like you could combine lessons, or maybe you're doing like I did, the today, maybe you combine that with AR and OR, and you can teach it all because they've already heard it now, especially in kindergarten when they get to third grade.
Right.
It can be a quick review. Let's keep it moving. Maybe they don't need that.
But then do they assign both quick checks in the same day? How does that piece work?
Yeah, it's only you're delivering one lesson. And then they have to complete it to deliver the other one.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Closes out,
so
they have
that's a
like fake-
good
they
question.
have like these fake demo classes, cause they have 2 classes a day. Also in
Uh-huh.
third grade. So they have these demo classes that they teach out of one, and then they use one to project. I don't know how they figured out how to game the system on that. That
Yeah,
they have, because the kids aren't necessarily in the home room, we mix them up with
right.
behavior and
Yes,
all that fun stuff all the time.
yeah.
But that is a little bit problematic, particularly when we get to third grade, and we are trying to expedite.
Mm-hmm.
And the lesson delivery piece, I think.
Well, and, there again, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, it's one component. So maybe you don't assign in third grade every single skill check. Maybe you teach the 2 lessons and you teach the second, or you
Right.
assign the second skills check. Cause it really just is for teacher data and how you instruct and how you guide your small groups, right?
Right.
So I think there can be more flexibility in that, but you also, I mean, look at the scope and sequence, and maybe with third grade, you're kind of matching to maybe TEKS and like how you're moving along, and then, yeah, start at the beginning, but yeah, you can, I think, be a little more flexible. But you still like,
Potentially like just 2 skill checks.
Mhm,
because
yes,
We have 2 other data pieces that we have to give
uh-huh,
to, in addition to Lexia.
I know, it's a
So
lot.
We're getting a lot of different data points
Mhm.
with a lot of different programs. But do you know, does the grade 2 scope and sequence, do you have to get through it all 127 to teach all second grade phonics standards and skills?
Now, I don't know how they're lined up to the TEKS,
Okay.
the scope and sequence, how it's lined up. Have you compared it
I haven't.
much? I just know, in Reading Horizons, it's more of like you're teaching the skill to how your kids, because like if most of them are red, 80% haven't mastered the skill, you're supposed to reteach. So, and you're supposed to go back, where are they? So they're not necessarily trying to align with standards per se.
Mhm.
But, if you're a teacher and you're like, they didn't get that skill, that's a tough one. I mean, I think you don't always get to all your TEKS
Yes.
sometimes anyway. I mean, you want them to be prepared for state tests, but that's hard to just teach it if they're not ready, or like, yeah,
At 127 lessons, I think we have 159 days of school.
yeah.
And then that buffer zone, I mean, you know what elementary.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, you've got a lot of
Oh,
different kinds
yeah.
of days going on where you may not
Yes,
have the ability to teach a phonics lesson, so,
exactly.
it is pretty.
We say, like, we don't say you need to have this rigid, like, set date. I mean, it's how it's supposed to, go as you see fit in your kids. So I guess it's kind of for you and
Right.
connecting it to the district. I know.
But the second and third grade, 127 lessons could span over second grade and into
Mhm.
Christmas in third grade.
Mhm. Yeah,
Just pick back up. We would-
yes,
I would want to compare it.
they
to
could
the
do a little
standard.
review and then pick back up for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds like they're really doing it. I mean, going to other schools, they're not always at where you're at. And again, being the first year, some didn't even get their materials until October.
Right.
So just give yourself some grace on that. And then, next year you'll start like day you know, right away, day one, or, you know, and you'll get a little bit farther, but this year is just, it's new for us and for you, and yeah.
Do y'all have any data from other schools who have implemented it to say like, this is how schools who have implemented have moved the needle? Like, do we have that yet? So we
Now,
can
I don't
measure?
think yet, because this is the first year we're really into the software technology piece, where before, did you have it before with the manuals?
No.
This is your first
This
year
is our
ever.
first year.
So, you know, when it first started, you had the manuals and you're writing on a whiteboard. And so it was all paper pencil. So unless, you know, there was a system to put the scores into something. So I think this year is going to be huge and kind of more of the beginning year, and hopefully we'll see that eventually, but it's a really good question.
I'm interested.
Yes.
I mean, you know, with reading academies, it's all about the systematic and explicit phonics, and
Mm-hmm.
we've gone away from guided reading, and all these practices have changed.
Yeah.
And so our students performing higher because we changed our professional practices. Not yet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
not yet. And, I mean, and we haven't had guided reading for at least 2 to 3 years, so it's not like that was I think a lot of hearts are still broken over that. I think we all still miss it.
Mm-hmm. That was a hard transition. I mean, it's better, but it's still hard too. And then finding the books for your classroom, having class books decodable at like, because you're like, well, what am I going to tell the parents? What level are they at? You know, and they're like, no, you're just going to talk about the skill taught. And you're like, what? It's finally making sense now that I've been in Reading Horizons, but it is an adjustment.
Oh, there's still teachers who FMP test secretly until the parent, hey, he moved from an in to an in.
Yeah.
Because that's the parents understand because
Mhm.
they're on their third kid here, and that's what they're expecting.
Right. Yeah. Like where are they? Yeah. But you know what? There's some kids who they can just read, and they may not understand why or the rules behind it, but you're like, oh, my kid could, I mean, yeah, I had kindergartners, I'm sure you do, that could read chapter books. They may not comprehend what they're reading, or, you know, they're missing some pieces, but yeah, I know.
Actually, I have 2 kids here, a 5th grader and a kindergartner. And my 5th grader was very much like, she came to kinder reading. And my kindergartner is gonna be just right middle of the pack.
Okay.
Like this just, he has no interest. He'll do what you tell him.
Yeah.
You know, so every evening, even if we're practicing, she's like, well, I already knew that when I was
Oh, funny.
Yes.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
Going through that last night.
Oh. The siblings, yeah. Well, they are. They're so different.
Very different. It's boy and a girl.
Oh, okay. Yeah, especially that. I know.
But no, the feedback's been really good.
Well, those are really good things for you to bring up. And I think, you know, keep checking in with that, especially the comparing the data in the district and, you know, the IM who set this all up, you know, and be in contact and, definitely have those conversations. I think that's important. Now, will you have you had teachers being coached here?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
So we did have to cancel the first day, so then we had a different person come, but we did
Okay.
reschedule Discovery, we just didn't reschedule.
the Elevate.
And so we did, that day, we did an all-day thing where they got coached.
Okay. Was that fun to see? It's the teachers in action and yeah.
And again, it wasn't like difficult to get them to do it, you know, sometimes.
Oh,
with
I
the
know.
kids,
Well, you can see
Those-
too who's doing it and who's not when you coach.
But all the grade levels, like, kinder is all the exact same.
Oh.
The exact same.
Oh, okay, okay.
They are very.
They're like-
In that. Second, however you see it in this classroom, it's pretty much how you're. how you see it
Okay.
in this classroom. That's just how they have planned for so long.
That's kind of nice in a
There's not a lot of
sense.
different, autonomy in each
Mhm.
room. Not because we say that, but just because they have these like. rules,
Yeah,
This is how we're gonna do it.
right.
And
Well-
they're very regimented. I mean, done a lot of walks during the discovery piece.
Uh-huh.
It looks exactly like
That's-
what I would expect.
Right. I mean, that's so great. I mean, yeah, because like you said, like there isn't a lot of like, lack of a better word, like you said, kind of like fun and like creative. So once hopefully they're like, okay, I've got it now, and I'm gonna add some like fun things, however you do, but you know,
Well, and it's in the district also, we're in the process of streamlining resources, and all of our resources have to go through an approval process. Of a list of things. And so even part of that was a lot of the videos in kindergarten. We have to get them approved if we're gonna show them.
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah,
letters and sounds are letters and sounds, but
yeah,
I do notice that, so. I think we'll just keep working with them to make sure they know, hey, y'all can tweak and y'all can bring a little bit of that stuff
mhm.
back and still put it in your stations. And some of them do from time to time. I told Brown I was in a room yesterday where they were doing like a matching game. It was a third grade room and they told me, hey, put your leg
You're
together."
like, "No." Yeah, you want kids to still have fun learning, right?
To do these things and talk to each other.
Mhm. I love that. I love that you're encouraging that. Cause you know, you don't want them to get burned out or like, this is, you know.
And I almost think that's a little bit of what's happening with Lexia and then our math program, Streambox, like,
Mm.
you know, my child's been doing Lexia for 6 years,
Mhm.
right, or 5, maybe just 5. And we started in grade, she was in first grade, 5 years, okay. You know, well, she finally just finished it, but they're just done with it. It's the same
Yeah.
program for 5 years,
Mhm.
after that, they're just done. So I still think we have to find a way to make it a little more novel for them each time they go through it, and at least discovery.
Right.
And your kinder through second kids are gonna be compliant anyway, you,
Mhm,
the teachers,
mhm.
the pop-ups and all that.
Yeah, but yeah, those older kids, when they've had it for so long, you still want to keep them engaged or like add something new or, you know, fun you can do. I know.
Doing out of this program's never ending.
Mhm. And I think it's hard too with all the reading you have on those apps and on the computer. I feel like it's bad for your eyes, but then for them to read so much on the computer screen, I don't like that as much, but I don't know. Everything kind of goes through its phases. I don't know. Like, what better a book? Yeah.
Those were really just the big idea questions that I had. As a campus level. I don't know if you have anything else or.
Did I answer your questions? I know I wrote things down and we talked about them, and I know, Elevate, I think too, is something, to look into further and, see maybe if you get another coach, like, what is this supposed to look like? Maybe you need a model lesson or, I don't know, more clarification.
I think it really mostly was a district. We didn't have clarity over what the program was and how it needed to be implemented.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were getting frustrated with how we thought it was supposed to be implemented. And then every month we'd be told, no, don't do it like that.
Wait.
Like, okay, now I got it now.
Mhm.
But the reading library piece, the teachers have really liked, and then
Okay.
our kids that need a break from Lexia, we say, go get in the reading library. 'cause
Oh,
that's a
good.
bit of Similarity in there, right? When they finish the Lexia program, we're assigning them strictly to the reading library in Elevate. We used
Mhm.
to move them on to Reading Plus, when it's middle school, and not doing that anymore. So that still gives them that
Okay,
piece.
okay,
They
yes.
can go and read.
Mhm.
information.
They have the choices. and-
But at least in that, they like earn little points and stuff.
Yeah,
and games
make it
or
more
whatever
fun.
they do.
Mhm. Okay, that's good.
Lexia doesn't have any of that. You just keep doing the
right.
Incentive for them.
Right, I know, no, and they really don't want to do that. Okay, well,
looking. The other elementary school shared all the questions that they are asking today.
Mm,
So I'm looking through it. to see if there's
yeah,
something
if
that-
they're,
Oh, yeah, maybe we should fix that. A lot of it is. Exactly. So
well, and it
one
was,
thing they were asking was, you have to teach all of the lessons up to middle of year before you do the middle of year check. Now, they are in, for lack of a better word, behind
uh-huh.
in their lessons very much compared to us and compared to where the
Mhm,
expectation is.
mhm.
So they were like, you know, we were told you have to have your middle of year check done by now, and they're like, yeah, we're 25 lessons behind that. So
And,
that's.
and
probably
that's
what's
okay. You know, when I had gone to a school and I did a model lesson and like kind of same thing. They had skipped lessons. So when I was modeling and I was doing the review, they had no idea what I was talking about because they didn't do that lesson. And so you're like, well, you can't, because I think, again, this being the first year, everyone's trying to figure it out. They're trying to connect to what the district wants.
Yes.
They feel like they need to be somewhere at a certain point, and we're saying, no, you don't. But I think, you know, we're trying to figure that out.
Right.
And so, again, everyone's like, oh, like she said, next year at the, you know, you're going to start it right away. You're going to know it. You're going to feel good about it. You're
Right.
going to have more of your answers or questions answered. They're going to keep tweaking things in the software. Like it'll all come together. But yeah, essentially you don't want to skip lessons, you know.
And third grade isn't skipping, they're just condensing each one.
Yeah.
They're not doing nearly as
Yeah.
much of the practice piece,
Mm-hmm.
and they're still giving the quick checks every day. For the
Well,
most
and
part.
that's great. I mean, and like there's little things you could adjust, right? You know, especially like when with the younger kids too, if you don't have as much time and your most common word is decodable, well, do you need to really do that? Probably not. Or
That was something that Kinder, I'm surprised they didn't bring it up, so they are used to, these are our 25 words for Kinder, right? And usually right before Christmas is when they start pushing hard on their 25 high frequency. words,
Uh-huh,
things like
uh-huh.
that. Well, now they have like a most common word a day,
Mhm.
and they're getting through 100-ish words, it looks like. So they do have some concerns about that. Are kids really mastering it? Are we just moving too quickly? We
Mhm.
kind of just talked to them about, well, when you're showing the word that day, you are introducing. the word.
Yeah.
We are not expecting mastery. by the end of
Right.
the 3 times that you practiced it. Your high frequency 25 that you want to focus on, that can still be separate from showing kids a most common word every day.
Right, right,
But I don't know if that's
exactly.
correct.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's totally it. And then like in that toolkit, because we align with Fry's. And
Correct.
so in that toolkit, when you go to most common words, they have the kindergarten one and they're all in there.
Yes.
So I don't know, you know, if they're feeling like they're not getting them, or, I mean, you could always do flashcards for review of the ones they taught. And let's like, okay, before we learn this new one, let's quickly go over the ones we just learned in the last month or 2 weeks, you know? But you're right.
just,
It's not
words,
mastery.
Like it's the same words that they're seeing in their decodable books and.
Exactly.
It's really just about making those connections. It's not.
Mhm.
Like we have, it's a rainbow word challenge in kindergarten, so they color their rainbow every time.
Oh, mhm.
Master a set of words, like we can still do that.
Right.
And guarantee mastery of these first 25 words of kinder. I think that's what the standard is.
Mhm.
100% of that. We can still guarantee mastery of these 25 for all 120 of our kids. And introduce them to another 75.
Yes.
Like you don't have to stop at that 20
Mhm.
for today. Now, one thing, actually Denise Knight is our, I don't know if she is now, but she helped us through blended learning, professional development coordinator, I think. So one of our grants is blended learning. We work with the CA group. And they work a lot with us on foundational reading skills. But she made a comment too, that using M-class results, is our screener, that none of the schools that they are working with are saying they need to move.
Okay.
Too much, and they're wondering if it has to do with the fluency, because every day is something new. None not
Mhm.
necessarily just with Reading
Mhm.
Horizons, but with whatever programs everybody's using. Are we giving them enough time to be fluent
Mm-hmm.
in these skills? And are we focusing enough on fluency? Because the assessments are truly all based on fluency.
Right.
Can you do it quickly enough?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of those other big questions, like we'll kind of wait and see, but some of the teachers have kind of brought that up too, that like they're just moving
Mm-hmm.
and that kids aren't having that automaticity quite yet.
So when like they have a small group and they have the decodable books in the small group, are they able to kind of like assess with observation, or I don't know, I mean, you could even probably do a running record essentially, but like, are they reading it quickly? Are they able to blend quick and read? And then, as the decodable books increase in length, and I mean,
Well, according to the data, I would say they are not becoming fluent. Now,
okay.
all the anecdotal evidence from
Uh-huh.
the teachers, they're like so proud. I just got a picture. Look, they're,
They're reading.
to do these
Mm-hmm.
marking or whatever it is.
So do you mean like when they're doing the test, their fluency is still low?
Right, because you have to, read so
Mhm.
much or identify so
Yes,
much
in a
the 1
certain
minute
time.
test.
Yep, yep. And so, and they're decodable passages as well, but they're
Yes,
just not.
or just identifying letters and sounds, nonsense words,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. They're,
And you're not seeing the increase yet. Yeah.
you're definitely not seeing the increase in that. Now,
Mhm.
when it's in the instruction piece and the kids are marking and proving the words, the teachers are observing proficiency.
Right. I mean, and it essentially for fluency goes from slide to word, word to sentence, sentence to passage, passage to then the books. So, some are going to catch on faster and blend the words quicker. Yeah, I mean, it's hard because I think still Reading Horizons being somewhat new, it's hard to say exactly. Yeah, because you want to see what is the impact that this curriculum is having
Right.
in our school.
There's
And-
been a big push for it.
Mhm.
Time commitment, professional development, money.
Oh, for sure.
and
Yeah.
all those things. I haven't seen like, greater progress yet on
Okay.
the data. And I don't know how long. It might take a whole year. I would hope that it doesn't take more than a whole year
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to see the rate of progress.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about, all of a sudden, all of
Yeah.
a grade level. I just mean.
Of course.
are
Well,
we-
growth.
Are we closing gaps?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The gaps
Is it
aren't getting
working?
Too much wider. I don't, we're not
Mm-hmm.
plummeting or anything like that, but.
Well, maybe by the end of this year, because it sounds like your teachers are definitely doing it with fidelity, like they really are in it, they're doing it. Maybe by the end of the year, hopefully, yeah, they'll see quite a bit of progress. Have they said, like, especially kinder and first, like how they like this program versus what they were doing before? Or like, have they had enough time to say like, wow, I know you said like they see the growth, but like, have they really been like, wow, this year's different teaching kindergarten and first than last year, or?
They anecdotally and their observational data, they have a lot of good things to say. They might worry a little bit about the fluency. They might-
Okay.
Like, it's little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as what we were doing before, it was really whatever the teacher was finding or the grade level. We had a
Mhm.
scoop and sequence, and if it said, okay, these are the skills and patterns you're working on, they would go find resources
Yes,
to practice.
yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
So they're not having to go find anything but no, I mean, really, they're talking to, they think that the kids are spelling better.
Okay.
They think that the kids are, even in kinder, they really are using more word patterns already. Because technically, we don't really get to, usually I hadn't gotten to like silent E, and the TH and the CH, that's like an April, May thing. for us
Mhm.
usually. But kids are already improving those words and. So anecdotally, yes,
Yeah,
they're very,
okay.
they've been very happy with it, once
Okay.
they figured out the timings.
Mm-hmm.
We also added an extra conference period this year.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
they also have 45 fewer minutes overall for kids a day.
Okay, okay.
So the combination
Uh-huh.
of those two, I really think, kind of zapped what they were doing. I'm like, because here's 45 minutes of reading horizons and here's 45 minutes being taken out.
Uh-huh.
So they have more planning time, which is great, right?
But not as much class time.
But not as much
Yeah,
class time.
okay.
And it hits second through fifth much harder than it K one.
Okay.
K one.
Yeah, yeah,
This is okay for us, but I really
Okay.
more feeling it second
okay.
overall. And that might have to do with why the needle is movement. If you're getting 45 minutes less of instruction,
Mm-hmm.
even if we've added a
Mhm.
systematic and explicit phonics
They're not
program,
getting that time to practice it as much, maybe. They're not getting those extra small independent centers.
But like all the
Yeah, that
extra
could be.
practice opportunities
Yeah.
to reinforce the curriculum is there,
Yeah,
like it was last year.
that's yeah.
So
There's so many like
variables,
components that
yeah.
go, yeah. That it's hard to know. And then and that's why, yeah, like straight data is hard because you have all those pieces. I mean, what else do you have? You know, you need it, but yeah, lots of things to consider.
here all day, but really that's like everybody's done teaching
Yeah,
the day.
yeah.